Hi, Rick here. Today I'm doing a project on lighting, and this came about because I was making a stop motion, and when I went to edit it I noticed that there was some flicker, and I determined that that was because, like a lot of people, I use clip lights and household lights and tape a piece of paper across the front to cut down on the glare, and that, unknown to me, the air circulation in the room was enough to cause the paper to move imperceptibly, and in the finished product you could see it flicker. So I'm going to get around that by building my own lights for making videos and stop motion. This is how I'm going to do it. I went to my local hardware store and I found a ceiling light. This is a 6-inch ceiling light with a white glass globe, and it was $6.39. I also bought an electrical box. This is a narrow electrical box. It's considered a specialty item, so it was around $4. You could also use something like this blue one you can get for 50 cents. It does exactly the same job, it's just a little bit bulkier. While I was there, I picked up a T-nut, 1/4 by 20, and a carriage bolt, about 3 inches long, also 1/4 by 20, and a carriage bolt because it has threads that go all the way to the end, and a 3/4 inch wooden dowel. At Walmart I picked up a 15-foot white extension cord for $2.99, and a single pole light switch and a light switch cover, and for both of them it was about 90 cents. Now, the wood to build the base of this project is wood that I had in my scrap pile, but if I had to buy it, a 1 by 8 by 8 foot piece of number 2 pine and a single 2 by 6 would be enough to build probably 3 of these lights. Let me show you how I did it. So the first thing we're going to need is a base. I've just taken some strand board. It's 7.5 by 7.5 for the top and bottom. I have a couple of pieces of 2 by 4 and some 1 by for the sides. I've glued and screwed it together. You want this to be strong because we want it to be heavy. I'm going to put a half a brick in there and maybe pack the sides with the packing material that came from the light itself. And I have some old bathroom ceramic tile that's been hanging around, and it's pretty heavy and it'll take up the space just right to fill that in. I'll then put some glue. Now, as I said, I've used a lot of screws because I want it to be good and secure, because this is going to be the base of the lamp, and when you move it, you're not going to bend over and pick this up off the floor. You're going to grab it up higher, and there's going to be a lot of weight on that. So you want to screw down well. Now, this is a very simple box. If you want to put more into this, you could, of course, use a more exotic wood. You could use finger joints or dovetails and make this as fancy as you want. I am more interested right now in just having the light. Nobody's ever going to see it but me. The next thing that we're going to need to do is to cut some discs. And we need 2 discs this size. These are cut from a 2 by 6. And I'm going to cut one from a piece of 3/4 inch plywood. And these are 5.5 inches across. And if you have seen my video for the wooden camera tripod, then you'll know where I'm heading with this. I'm going to be using a mast system very similar to the one that I used in that video. Okay, so I cut these freehand and gave them a quick sand on the belt sander. This one will be used just the way it is as part of the base. These will be drilled 3/4 inches through the middle because I'm going to use a 3/4 inch mast, and one of them will be drilled out so that a T-nut can be put in, and that's so that when the mast is in there we'll have something to screw in to hold the mast. This is very similar to the way that I made the mast on my wooden tripod video. If you haven't seen that, take a look at it, and we'll drill them out later, but first I'll get this mounted. So next we need to cut some slats that'll make up the body of the base, and we're going to need 4 of them. These are about 29 inches long. I've already cut them, and I didn't have to rip them down because somebody gave me a whole pile of 1 1/4 inch by about 3/4 inch maple slats, and I'm going to be using those because I have them, but you could easily cut some of these out of a 1x piece of pine. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to round over the tops on the bandsaw and sand them up a little bit on the sander and drill some holes where they will meet the base when we put the screws in to hold the whole thing together. So this is everything we need to build the base. The only other part that we need to manufacture is the head where the light and the switch will go. And this is just a piece of 2x6 cut square, and I'm just going to round off the edges, drill a hole in the bottom 3/4 of an inch, and that will be to receive the mast, and drill a hole through the body, and I'll figure out where I want that to be by using the electrical box that I'm going to use for the switch, and placing it on the back. Because this is a metal box, it already has holes in it, and marking where the hole for the wires from the light will pass through the wood. So I'll cut and drill this, and then we'll be ready to prime and paint these pieces before assembly. So here's that piece all cut out. The light will mount to it in the front. I've drilled a hole so that the wires for the light can go through and get into the switch box. That'll be on the back, and that's where the switch will be. I've also drilled a 3/4 inch hole about 2 inches deep, and that is where it will sit on the mast. So now we prime and paint all the wooden parts, and we can start the assembly. Here are the pieces for the body with a coat of paint on them. All we need to do is to put in the T-nut in the space that we've prepared for it. So here is our base. All we have to do is put the bolt into the nut, and that will hold the dowel, which becomes the mast for our light. So all we have left to do now is the electrical work. And here's where the disclaimer comes in. I am not a licensed electrician. I'm not advocating that you do this. If you do this, you do it at your own risk. If you hurt yourself or burn down your house, it's not my fault. If you have any questions or doubts, consult a qualified electrician. That being said, so I'm going to start by opening this so we can get a wire through there and bending these tabs over because we don't need them. Make sure you line up the hole so the wires can be able to pass through from the other side, and use some small screws to attach it. Now I'm going to take the 15-foot extension cord and snip off the end where the receptacle is. I'll now expose some of these wires. I'm then going to tie a knot in the wire. I'm not going to make it so tight that it's going to crimp the wire, but I want it in there so that if the wire gets pulled on, it's going to stop it from yanking out the connection. Now this is a single pole switch, so I want one wire from the light, which is going to be the black one, connected on this side to the black screw. I want one wire from the electrical cord connected to the bottom of the switch. Going to connect the ground. The remaining two wires, one from the light and one from the electrical cord, we want to connect them together. And we can secure them with a wire nut, which came with the light. And you can secure that with a piece of tape if you like, a piece of electrical tape. Put everything inside the box. It's a little tight because this is a small box. So now all we need to do is connect it to the mast, plug it in, and turn it on. And there it is. Simple, inexpensive solution to my lighting problems. I built 3 of these. So altogether, even if I had to buy the wood, they were probably $20 or less a piece. And I'm sure I'll get a lot of use out of them. The height is adjustable, and they're easy to turn off and on. Now I can get back to my stop motion project. If you like my videos, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.